Today's tutorial is going to be an up-themed guest book. You can create this for any kind of event, may it be a wedding or a birthday party or whatever you want it to be. This guest book is great for any occasion. It also makes a wonderful memento for anyone's home. You will need a straight edge ruler or something with a straight edge if you do not own a ruler, some sort of marker. I'm using dual brush pens, tracing paper. This you can get at any Hobby Lobby or art store. You will need a pencil. You will need tape. It doesn't matter what kind of tape you use. You will need scissors. You will need various Sharpie markers. I'm using a normal black Sharpie, a chisel tip black Sharpie, 2 microns, this is an 05 which has a broader tip, and a 03 which has a finer tip. These are both fine tip markers. I said the 05 is broader because it's broader in comparison to this one. And a white paint Sharpie which is used to clean up lines and fix mistakes. And you will need ink pads. Finally, you will also need some sort of paper or canvas or artist board to create your design on. I'm using sketchbook paper because I like the texture better and it's easier to work with. If you work with canvas, it'll be more difficult for you to draw lines smoothly. The ink won't come out as smoothly as you like because the texture of the canvas. To begin this project, you are gonna have to find a good design that you like online. I already have mine chosen and it looks like this. And you'll have to tear out a piece of tracing paper. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna place this tracing paper over your phone, blow up the image as big as you would like. You will trace over this image. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking a piece of tape off of the roll and I'm going to tape my tracing paper firmly against my desk so that it doesn't move while I trace my image. So you're going to take out your ruler, you're going to take out your pencil once more, and you're going to trace over all of the lines you put on your tracing paper. Alright, so when you get to this stage, what you should do is you should flip it back over because this is the right orientation for your project. You want the picture to be facing the way that it was drawn rather than this, which is flipped vertically. So now that you've done that, you might notice that it might have transferred over to the other side, and that's because you were drawing on top of the lines on this side. So you were drawing and transferring these lines over that you had already drawn. So essentially, that's what we're gonna do once again, except this is gonna be for real. Now, what you wanna do is you might wanna cut this paper so that it will be easier to manipulate if you wanna manipulate it. For example, in my project, I'm not going to make it a straight orientation the way it already is. I'm going to turn mine slightly like that so that it looks like the house is floating away. So I'm gonna cut this excess paper so I'm left with this. That way I can tape my image down easier and I won't have to worry about it moving as much. So what you want to do now is position your paper the way you would like it. Like I said, I'm going to do mine so that it looks like it's floating, so it's slightly turned. And then you're gonna use that tape that you took off earlier and just apply it just lightly in case the tape picked up anything from the surface it was already taped to. If you're kind of worried about that transferring, go ahead and just use some new tape, cut some new tape out, and you can use that instead. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna trace once again. I know this is the most tedious part of this project, is tracing and retracing and tracing and retracing, but that's how you get it to look as perfect as the original drawing. So once you're done, you can start peeling off the tape, and you're not going to need the tape again, so at this point you can throw it away. And there you go, you should have something that looks like that. So we're just going to go ahead and trace everything with a black marker, or a Sharpie in my case. A Micron 03 is the size that I'm using. I'm just going to take out my original image and just use that as reference as I do this. So now that we have our design outlined, you're going to go ahead and take an eraser and begin removing the pencil underneath. Once you've done that, you're going to start coloring. So you want to match up your colors as neatly as possible. So for my colors, I have this yellowish color, which could either be this color right here, or maybe that color. I think this one is closer. So we're going to take out a scrap sheet of paper and we're going to start matching up colors. As you can see here, I have to go over several times with this white paint marker to really get my lines to show up. The problem is it kind of dissolves into the marker underneath, so you have to really go over it several times to make it really show. Let it dry a little before we keep layering stuff on. And then the final step after we finish layering this white on until it's pretty solid is we're going to take one of these Micron markers, not this one because this one is too thick. We're going to be taking an 03 or smaller to draw in all these shingles and the paneling and all the details that we didn't get the first time. that, we're almost done. The final touches are to create some balloon strings. And when we're doing that, we're gonna bring them through the chimney because in the movie Up, that's where they're coming through. And these can be random, just going off to the side, going up the middle. Just kind of intersperse them anywhere. And then what you can do is you can add clouds, you can write a title, anything really. This area is going to be populated by your guests' fingerprints or their circular stampers with the ink pad. They can use that to make the little balloons that are coming out of the chimney of your Up house. And then they can sign their bubbles, they can sign their fingerprints. That way you can have a really cool Up guest book. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do some finishing touches. I'm going to put a title on here, and then I'm going to do some sampling of the stamps for you. Alright, so now that we have our title on here, I have these stampers. I got these at Walmart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to start stamping with my thumb. Go ahead and press my thumb into the ink pad. The only downside about these inks, I believe, is that they do stain. That's why I suggested the circular stamp. Right, so here is the finished product. You could have your guests sign their thumbprints, you could have them sign around the outside of your project, whatever you want to do. It's very easy in terms of skill level. Nobody really has to know how to draw or anything like this. Just tracing paper. This is just simple penmanship. It doesn't really matter what it looks like unless you want something really good, and then I suggest maybe getting a sticker or a stencil and then you could stencil it in yourself. The ink does stain, so that's something to think about. Once it is on your finger though, it doesn't really come off. This is after washing my hands, by the way. So after I've washed my hands, the ink is not going to come off my fingers. It's going to stay there for maybe a week at the most. Last time I did this project and I tested the ink on my fingers, it took maybe 2 days for it to come off, but that was just on one finger and that was one ink pad. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different ink pads. And I've done all these thumbprints myself, so of course this is gonna stain much longer than just one person sticking their thumb. Of course this looks really awesome and it's really simple to do. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. And have a fantastic day. I hope you really like this project. I definitely did. It's very easy to replicate, it's very easy to have, and it's very cute. It's very cute, and you can just hang this when you get home, and it's a good memento from your wedding or whatever event you'd like to use this at.